I agreed to all terms. The words came out steady, calm, final. The house, both cars, the company, every account, every single asset we owned, all of it. My lawyer's pen stopped moving. Diana. Please, she whispered, don't do this, across the courtroom. My husband leaned back in his chair like a man who'd just hit the jackpot. His mother smirked from the gallery. Anne Brittany-20-7. Red dress, sitting right beside her, actually lifted her phone and took a selfie. In the middle of my divorce hearing. The judge looked straight at me. Double quotes, Mrs. Saunders, you understand you are giving up all claims to these assets. I understand, Your Honor. No hesitation. No tears. Just a signature. Page after page slid in front of me. I signed everyone. Vincent didn't even pretend to read when it was his turn. He signed fast, confident, almost bored. Like this was just paperwork standing between him and his new life. For exactly 47 seconds, he thought he'd won everything. Then his lawyer flipped to page 47. Anne went completely still. Vincent, he said quietly. Vincent barely looked up. What? No one answered. Because in that moment, my husband, the man who believed he was the smartest person in every room, was seconds away from realizing he'd just signed something he didn't understand. Before I tell you what happened next, if this story sounds like something worth hearing, take a second to like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely want to. And if you're watching right now, drop a comment telling me where you're from and what time it is there. Now, let me take you back 3 years. I saw it before he could notice me hovering behind the kitchen counter. A message on his phone from a woman named Clara. Can't wait to see you tonight. My stomach dropped, not surprise. I had suspected, not anger. I had learned to keep it tucked away. It was fear. Fear for what I was about to do. I watched him that evening, laughing, pretending everything was normal. And it hit me, this man, who thought he controlled everything, didn't even know I'd been watching him. Quietly, carefully. Every step. Every lie. Every slip. I poured my wine. Sat at the edge of the table. Anne waited. Vincent sat down, smiling like the world was his playground. Long day, he asked. I didn't answer. Instead, I said softly, almost innocently, "Who's Clara?" The smile froze. His hand trembled as it reached for his glass. What do you mean? I slid my phone across the table. Screen on. Message open. Heart emoji glaring at us both. He stuttered. Then lied. Then panicked. But I stayed calm. I had waited years for this moment, not for a confrontation, but for leverage. Because I knew everything. The debts, the loans, the fraud, the secret accounts. He had built his empire on lies. I had built mine on truth. And in that moment, I decided it was time to play my hand. Vincent, I said, voice steady, we need to talk about your little empire, and what's mine now. He looked at me like I'd grown a second head. But I had already grown beyond fear. And the first move in my plan was about to start. The calm before the storm, and Vincent had no idea the storm was already inside our house. Vincent didn't know where to start. His confidence, the armor he wore for years, was cracking right in front of me. Diana, this is ridiculous, he said, trying to wave the phone away. Trying to regain control, I let him fumble. I had no intention of yelling. No intention of begging or pleading. I just sat there watching. Ridiculous, I echoed, calm. Precise. Let me show you something else, Vincent. I pulled out a manila folder, thick with papers, neatly stacked, each page timestamped, annotated, photographed, the debts, the forged signatures, the loans, the hidden mortgages, the property liens, every secret he thought only he knew laid bare. His hand trembled slightly as he reached for the first page. How did you get this? He whispered. I've been preparing, I said, for 3 years, 3 years of quiet, of watching, of saving, of documenting. 3 years of knowing that when he decided to demand everything in a divorce, he'd handed me the ultimate weapon. Vincent laughed nervously at first. Then louder, this isn't possible. You can't, this isn't real. I let the laughter fade, the weight of the room shifted. Everything you think you own comes with strings, I said softly, turning a page. Every property, every car, every account. Do you see page 47, Vincent? His eyes flicked to it. He froze. I didn't need to say more. The liability assumption clause glared back at him. If he insisted on keeping everything, he would also inherit the debts. All of them. Every last dollar. Diana, you're insane, he muttered. I smiled faintly. No, Vincent. I'm ready, he tried to argue, to threaten. I didn't flinch. Because for once, I wasn't negotiating from weakness. I wasn't begging for fairness. I wasn't hoping he'd change. I was free. And he was about to pay the price for every lie, every betrayal, every moment he underestimated me. Outside the room, the city moved on. Inside, a quiet reckoning was beginning, and I knew, with absolute certainty, this was only the beginning. The morning of the hearing, sunlight spilled across the courthouse steps, warm but not comforting. I parked my old Honda in the lot, heart steady, mind focused. Vincent's Porsche gleamed nearby his trophy. Waiting for its owner to be humbled, I dropped Tyler off at Rachel's house, kissed him goodbye, and felt the tiniest flicker of fear, only for a moment. Then I remembered. 3 years of preparation. I was ready. I walked into the courthouse, past couples signing custody agreements and lawyers shuffling papers. Everyone unaware that today, a quiet war was about to end. Room for B was smaller than I expected, wood-paneled walls, fluorescent lights humming overhead, and at the head of the table, Vincent, proud, smug, certain. Beside him, Gerald Hoffman, his polished legal shield. I entered, Margaret beside me, documents in hand, my calmness masking the storm inside. Diana, glad you could make it, Vincent said. That condescending smile plastered across his face. I ignored him, took my seat, let him feel in control, let him believe this was routine. The clerk called the session to order. Judge Dawson's voice cut through the room. We are here for Saunders versus Saunders. Final dissolution hearing. Counsel, are both parties prepared to proceed? Yes, Your Honor. Margaret confirmed. Gerald nodded. And Vincent barely glanced at the folder in front of him. The agreement was read aloud, methodically, page by page. Every asset Vincent demanded: house, cars, properties, investment accounts, Saunders Properties LLC assigned solely to him. No alimony, no claim from me. He relaxed. He smiled, victory in his eyes. Then Margaret pointed to page 47, calm, precise. Your client, Mr. Saunders, will assume full personal liability for all debts, liens, mortgages, and financial encumbrances attached to these assets, releasing the other party from all obligations. Silence. Vincent's smile faltered. He glanced at Gerald. Panic flickered in the lawyer's eyes. Wait, what? Vincent's voice cracked. You wanted everything, I said softly. Meeting his gaze, Here it is, all of it, including the debts. The room felt like it held its breath. Gerald scrambled, trying to intervene. Judge Dawson held up her hand, unwavering. Mr. Saunders, you voluntarily waived the independent financial review, she said firmly. You acknowledged full knowledge of the assets and liabilities. There is no legal basis to undo your own signature. Vincent's face drained of color. Every smirk, every arrogance, every confident assertion gone. Brittany gasped from the gallery. Evelyn's rigid posture faltered, and I sat, calm, free. My hand brushing the thin gold sapphire ring my grandmother left me, my smallest possession. But the one Vincent never thought to claim. Goodbye, Vincent, I whispered under my breath, and for the first time in 8 years, I could breathe. Outside the courthouse, the winter air hit me like a rush of freedom. Tyler ran ahead, laughing at a stray pigeon. Unaware of the storm that had just ended, I watched him, heart swelling with relief and love. Vincent stormed out moments later, face red, hand shaking. His Porsche gleamed, but he didn't touch it. Not today. His empire, built on arrogance and deceit, was intact in the world's eyes but hollow, toxic, and tied to debts he couldn't escape. The media had started to gather. Whispers of Saunders' divorce shock and business tycoon humiliated drifting toward me. I ignored them. I didn't need the world to see. I just needed Tyler to know his mom had fought for him and won. Margaret handed me a folder. Inside were copies of the final court documents. Every asset, every debt, every loophole closed. It felt surreal, like holding proof that the nightmare had ended. I called my brother, my voice shaky but proud. It's over, I said, finally. He replied, a grin in his voice. He won't bother you again. I nodded, though no words could capture the years of fear, betrayal, and sleepless nights. I had survived Vincent, his schemes, his lies, and emerged stronger that night. I didn't celebrate with champagne or fanfare. I cooked spaghetti for Tyler, sat on the floor in the living room, and let him feed me little bites, laughing at the mess we made. The ordinary moments felt like victory, the kind that no court could grant. Later, as Tyler slept, I looked at the stack of papers on my desk, the proof that I had reclaimed my life. My phone buzzed, a notification from an old friend who'd been silently tracking Vincent's empire. Diana, it read, he's trying to sell Saunders' properties to cover his debts. Everyone's watching. I smiled faintly. Let him scramble. Let him face the consequences of his greed. I had my son, my freedom, and the knowledge that no one could ever manipulate me like that again. The next morning, the sunlight was softer, warmer. I stepped outside, Tyler in hand, and for the first time in years, I felt a sense of peace that wasn't borrowed, coerced, or conditional. It was mine and mine alone. And as we walked down the street, I whispered to him, this is the start of everything we deserve, because after everything, survival was only the beginning. The weeks that followed felt almost surreal. Vincent's empire crumbled like a sandcastle against the tide. News outlets reported Saunders' property's bankruptcy, the repossession of the Porsche, the failed property auctions. Every headline screamed his downfall, but I didn't read them. I didn't need to. I already knew the truth. I had my life back. Tyler thrived in our new rhythm. No gilded cages, no constant reminders of a father who had prioritized power over love. We rode bikes in the park, built blanket forts in the living room, and laughed without the shadow of Vincent's arrogance looming over us. Simple days. Ordinary meals, they were richer than anything he had ever offered. I returned to accounting full-time, my skills, sharpened over years of managing our finances and uncovering his fraud, earned me respect I'd never received in the past. My boss called me meticulous, reliable, indispensable, but I knew the real training came from 3 years of watching, documenting, calculating, and waiting. I had survived a man who thought he could control everything, and I emerged stronger. One afternoon, as Tyler worked on a school project at the kitchen table, my phone buzzed. It was an email from Vincent. "Diana, I need to talk. It's about Tyler." I stared at it, thumb hovering. Part of me felt curiosity, but deeper than that was clarity. I didn't know him a response. Not for his money, not for his ego, not for his lies. "Mom," Tyler asked, looking up. "Are you going to reply?" I shook my head, smiling. "Nobody. This is about us now. We don't need him to be happy." Tyler grinned and went back to his project. And I finally allowed myself to smile, fully and freely, without hesitation or fear. That night, I held the stack of old documents in my hands, the ones that had sealed Vincent's fate. I didn't feel triumph, I felt relief, justice, and the quiet pride of knowing I had protected what truly mattered: my son, my dignity, and my freedom. Months later, I enrolled in a CPA certification program. It wasn't about revenge or proving Vincent wrong anymore. It was about reclaiming myself and building a life I could be proud of. Tyler clapped when I told him, "Mom's going to school," and insisted on celebrating with ice cream. I laughed, thinking how ordinary, yet perfect this moment was. Sometimes people ask me how I managed to survive someone like Vincent, how I kept silent for so long, and why I didn't just fight sooner. The answer is simple: patience, planning, belief in my own worth. Silence isn't always weakness. Waiting isn't always passivity, and those who underestimate you give you the greatest gift: time. Vincent lost everything: his fortune, his pride, his sense of control. I gained something infinitely more valuable: my life back, and the knowledge that nothing, no one, could take it from me again. The lesson: freedom isn't given, it's claimed, and sometimes the quietest battles, those fought in shadows, unseen, underestimated, yield the loudest victories. As I tucked Tyler into bed that night, he whispers, "Mom, I think we're going to be okay." I kiss his forehead and whisper back, "We're more than okay, sweetheart, we're free." And for the first time in 8 years, I believe it fully, completely. If this story hit home, remember, strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, patient, and unstoppable. Have you ever been underestimated? Did someone think you couldn't fight back, only for you to prove them wrong? Drop your story in the comments. I read every single one. If you found this inspiring, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so more people who need to hear this can see it. Share this video with someone who is in the middle of their own silent battle. You never know whose life it could change. And always remember, your silence isn't weakness, your patience isn't passivity. Your time will come.